The HomePod was set to take over the smart speaker market. Apple was late in the game and HomePod made its official debut on February 9th, 2018. Apple had high hopes for it and was more than confident it will knock the Amazon smart speakers and other smart speakers out of the competition. But did it though? Psych, not even close. According to reports, the HomePod only makes a measly 6% of the entire smart speaker market, which is pitiful, especially for Apple, who prides themselves in having complete dominance on other markets like the tablet market, and some could even argue the smartphone market, despite them losing grip with poor iPhone sales and longer upgrade times by users. But that's another video for another day. Today, we'll be taking a look at the HomePod and whether you should go out and buy one. We'll go over its strengths, which is an amazing sounding speaker, but it also has many flaws, and boy, it has many. So buckle up because it's going to be a good one. We'll start with a really quick unboxing. There's really not much to it. You'll come to find out this box is heavy. Like, the HomePod is so small, but boy does it pack on that weight. Similar to how all of us gained them 15 pounds in college. Sad facts. Anyway, we lift the top to reveal our beautiful HomePod in all of its glory, partially concealed under this white cardboard. We take it out to reveal circular documentation and an Apple sticker, and that's about it. You do also get the cable, and it's already attached to the HomePod. Now, you can take out the cable, but Apple never really says you should, so I wouldn't do it. The HomePod unboxing is rather quick, and like I said, there's not much to it. Now that we have it out of the way, we can behold all of its glory, and there's no doubt it is designed beautifully. Like, lifting it up, yeah, there's some heft, but to be honest, how often will you be picking this thing up? Chances are, 90% of the time, it'll be in the exact same spot, so the weight doesn't really matter. What I do like is the mesh fabric around it. So it has this net kind of film around it and is basically a soft sock underneath the mesh. So it gives it a weird kind of texture. Like, you can actually squish it slightly. It's hard to explain. Another thing about the design is it's only 7 inches tall with no mechanical buttons whatsoever. Therefore, it blends seamlessly just about anywhere, especially the black HomePod. Leave it in the kitchen, the bathroom, any bedroom, and it will blend in anywhere. That's something I really like, the fact that it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb and can be placed anywhere in your house. At the bottom, we do have a rubber footing to stabilize it when you crank it up to 100 and blast them tunes. It does get pretty loud, and as I'll touch up on later, has very good bass, which can cause the table to vibrate slightly and may even shift small light objects around it with the pounding noise it creates. It's quite the marvel to see how something so small can pack such a huge punch, so the rubber footing is absolutely necessary so this doesn't accidentally roll off the table and ruin you financially. The setup process is so simple. An eggplant could set it up. Thanks to the brains behind the HomePod being the A8 chip, just bring your iPhone or iOS device near the HomePod and it will prompt for setup. Like, it's really that simple. It's so similar to like AirPods if you have those. Siri will then start talking to you as if she is some kind of freak robotic person that you might ask out on a date. But don't do that. She's a virtual assistant and that's it, bruh. So for my loner viewers, man, better luck next time. During the setup process, she'll ask you to repeat some phrases just so you can get acquainted with the Siri commands. But here's a huge warning to all my brothers and sisters out there who guard heavily guarded secrets on iMessage. I know every single one of my viewers are children of God and will never dream of hustling drugs or sending nudes or spreading rumors on iMessage because, let's face it, that's low. So I know for a fact I'll be seeing all of y'all at church on Sunday. But it is important to note that the HomePod is not like your iPhone. By that, I mean it is not trained to listen to your voice. In fact, the HomePod will listen to any voice. Why would you be worried about your deepest secrets? Well, if your side pulls up and if she says, "Hey, read my last messages from Maine," boy, unplug that bit quick because the HomePod will straight expose you and start reading out your text. I live by the motto, no snakes on my squad, so I allow my HomePod to be a member of my squad so long as personal requests are turned the off. And this is an option that you can choose upon setup. So it is important to note that even your mom can be like, "Hey, yo, Siri, read me my last text messages." And let me find out, Siri hypes up your mom with that. Reading messages from Maple Leaf. Gust of wind. Electric plug. Boy, just know you gonna get your ass beat. Find out. Again though, I know mankind is full of pure, wholehearted individuals, so I have faith in all of you all. And so real quick, just moving on to some controls of the HomePod. As you may have guessed, you do have a touch-sensitive panel on the top of the HomePod, which does activate some controls in regards to music and Siri. Press and hold to activate Siri if you don't want to use your voice. Press it once to start playing some music, and once some music plays, you have volume up and down buttons that you can also control the volume with. Double tap, and it'll proceed to the next track. Triple tap and it'll play the previous track. It's really cool. I think it's really nice that they give us options, so if you don't want to use your voice for the HomePod, you can actually just start tapping the top of the HomePod. Now the HomePod really is one of a kind. Really, you're getting two products in one. You're getting a really dumb smart assistant that is slowly, and I mean very slowly, starting to learn more stuff via software updates. And on the other hand, you have a very good speaker. The speaker is actually quite impressive, and inside the HomePod, you'll find 7 tweeters, 6 microphones, and a high excursion woofer. Now, where Apple messed up really bad in my opinion is that this retails for $349. Think about it this way. You throw in a party for the boys, and you all invited a ton of baddies, but yo DJ done flexed out, and now you're in need of a speaker because let's face it, if I pull up to a house party and there's no music, I'm hitting that U-turn and walking out. Now imagine you got 2 hours to go out and buy a decent Bluetooth speaker so everyone can vibe while wilding out. How much do you expect to pay for that speaker on that time crunch? $100? Maybe $150 max? See, herein lies one of the big flaws of the HomePod. It comes in at a very steep $349. In terms of my Apple ecosystem, that has to be one of the biggest pills I had to swallow for my setup in terms of value. And it's not even that. When it first debuted, it was more of a Frankenstein project, missing half of the features we should have had, like stereo pairing from the beginning. Which means that you can buy not one, but 2 HomePods to create a stereo pair that plays in harmony and 100% in sync. Like, it's pretty amazing, but at the same time, what did you pay to have those kinds of luxuries, my dude? Because I know for a fact, one HomePod isn't enough for a party setting. Don't get me wrong, the HomePod gets hella loud, but it's all relative. It's loud when it's 10 p.m. cranked up at full volume and you just in your room chilling with no noise. But whenever you squad deep and the baddies start pulling up and everyone is just talking, they're going to want you to turn up the music. What you going to say? That's as loud as it gets? Now, to save you from the embarrassment, you're going to tell me you're going to run to an Apple store and cop a second one just to make it louder? See, this is exactly what I mean. First of all, it's way too expensive to make a stereo pair, but at the same time, if you just buy one HomePod, you're missing out on half of the experience. It may seem like I despise the HomePod, but I don't. I love the HomePod. The sound is so crisp, and it's one of the very few speakers that don't get staticky or lose clarity when at louder volumes. The music sounds just as rich and clear at 20% volume than it does at 100%. However, I wish Apple would improve upon this with the HomePod too. I wouldn't mind it being 2 inches taller and a bit wider if it meant we could have an increase of say 30 to 50% higher volume. Just trust me when I say 2 HomePods in a party setting is like just right. Although I would like it to be a little louder, but hey, maybe I'm wild and I'll be deaf by 45 and I just love loud music and you're different, in which case let me know in the comments down below. And so now you guys probably want to hear how the HomePod sounds. So I'm going to try my very best to test out the sound of a stereo pair of HomePods. But keep in mind, it's so hard to portray the actual sound on camera and on the microphone. What you really have to do is just go to an Apple store and listen to one for yourself. So here's some copyright-free music with different kinds of genres of music, just so that you can get a taste of it for yourself. Check it out. Now that we brushed up on audio, which by the way, again, as I mentioned, is extremely good audio, let's go to reliable old Siri. And by reliable, I mean Siri's a piece of shit. It's no secret to anyone that Siri has lagged drastically behind the likes of Amazon, Google, and other smart speakers. Now, it is important to know that the brains of the HomePod is powered by Apple's A8 processor, which is the same chipset that debuted on the iPhone 6 several years ago. And this is where all of the background activity and requests are processed. You'll notice when you say the magical Siri phrase that you'll have LED indicators on the top of the device, which is a really nice touch, which signals Siri is ready for your command. You then give it a prompt or a request and Siri will come back at you and she will either roast you or spit bars. Nah, actually, Siri doesn't do all that. She'll just normally say bet, or most of the time, you'll get something along the lines of, I don't know, or I can't do that. And thus again, herein lies another big flaw. Siri is dumb as fuck. Siri can only take some of the most basic requests, and up until recently via a software update, she was able to make calls directly from the device. To be quite honest, I knew going into this purchase that this device was not going to be used as a virtual assistant, and I honestly don't use it that way. The only time I use Siri is to set my alarm so I can wake up in the morning, because I find saying, hey, shut up, gets me out of bed quicker than snoozing my alarm 8 times. Other than that, I rarely use it as a smart speaker. Siri does take some pretty generic commands though, like play my metal playlist, or text Bay to pull up, no one home, or play music by Anuel, brr, real hasta la muerte, which leads me to another very important point. The HomePod is the pinnacle of Apple's walled gardens. If you don't have Apple Music, do not even bother buying it. You have to be deeply invested into Apple's ecosystem to take full advantage of it. You can't even play music via Bluetooth. Yeah, man, not even Bluetooth. The A8 chip aids in a very seamless setup and is also the way your iOS device connects to it so you can start jamming. Got Spotify? Forget about it. It technically is compatible, but you have to do it through AirPlay, and you don't get to tell Siri to switch up the playlist or ask for specific requests the way your 12-year-old brother asks for a request at your quinceañera. You actually have to get your phone and change the music. So unless you got Apple Music, it's a dud, it's a paperweight. I wouldn't say useless, but it's damn near useless. This product is really geared towards those like myself who are deeply, and I mean very deeply, invested into Apple's ecosystem. One neat feature about the HomePod though, as I mentioned, is the microphone array and the tweeters, which make it so that the HomePod adapts to the environment automatically with no input by you whatsoever. This means that no matter where you place it, the HomePod is smart enough to adapt to the surroundings and blast music in a way that makes you be able to hear it 100% crystal clear at whatever angle. Allow me to enlighten you a bit more. If you place the HomePod in the corner of the room, the HomePod is smart enough to adjust the sound so it bounces off so perfectly that no matter where it is placed in the room, it will sound amazing. It truly is amazing, and again, this process is done automatically with no input from you whatsoever. Remember all those microphones I told you about earlier? They are there for a reason. That's because Siri is always listening. And I don't mean the NSA type of always listening, or I don't know about all that, but it is always listening to your raspy voice, even while playing music. I've tried this out and it works wonderfully, but this feature starts to degrade at 85 to 100% volume, so you can be playing music and say the magical Siri phrase, and the music will be turned down a lot so that Siri can take your every command. It's quite remarkable. Like, the music can be very loud and you say the Siri phrase and she picks up on it. Like, it's so cool. Another neat feature is that you can actually hook this up to the Apple TV. I've reviewed the Apple TV, and if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll link it here on a card so you can check it out. But yeah, if you don't have the best speaker system in your TV, you can actually connect your HomePods to play all the audio for you, and I use this every now and then. And because the way my room is set up, I have the HomePods behind me when I watch TV. So sometimes it's cool when watching an action film or a horror movie and have the audio blast from behind you instead of in front of you. So it's a pretty cool feature. Last but not least, just to elaborate a bit on the stereo pairing, I know I bashed on the audio a bit earlier, but I guarantee you, to experience the full HomePod experience, hands down you need 2 HomePods. The setup process for 2 HomePods is so simple, and once you get them, man, you'll be blown away by the audio, seriously. I don't know how Apple does it, but props to them for always creating great sounding devices. By no means is the HomePod the absolute best speaker in the world, it's not, although for $349 it should be up there, but it still blew me away. The stereo pairing adds a huge extra layer of depth to the sound, especially if you have one HomePod in one corner of the room and one in the opposite corner. You'll not be disappointed, I promise. So listen, it really sounds like I'm bashing on the HomePod, and well, I kind of am to an extent. Look, a stereo pair of HomePods will change your life, believe me. For basic everyday tasks, the smart speaker is enough. But for more advanced tasks, I'm sorry, but Siri is completely manhandled by the other smart speakers on the market. However, the sound is booming. But you have to consider that for that stereo pair, you're dropping a whopping $700 to accomplish that. Now just ask yourself what you can do with $700. I'll wait. Now instead, you could spend $50 on a Bluetooth speaker, and that may be all you need. Save $650 easy. Look, the HomePod is for people who adore Apple and just pray to them every night and are loyal fanboys. And the HomePod is just hindered by Apple's own walled gardens. The fact that Apple Music is essentially mandatory on it is its biggest flaw, and it's hard to sell to your average consumer. The HomePods regularly go on sale, but I'd say if the HomePod was $199 max, it would be a go out and get now, but $349 is excessive, and this is why Apple is not making ground in the smart speaker space. It would be interesting to see what Apple can do with the HomePod too. Whatever they do, they need to make this speaker able to play through Bluetooth and not just Apple devices. But despite its flaws, it sounds amazing for what it is, and I love my stereo pair, I'm telling you. The HomePod plays music so well, and its spatial awareness is super cool. It creates a whole new vibe while listening to music, for real. My advice? If you're looking to buy one, go to an Apple store first and test out the sound, then consider how invested you are into the ecosystem. For most people, a $349 smart speaker just doesn't make sense, but I don't know. What do you think? I adore the HomePod. I love the sound. The bass is just so booming and it makes your music just pop out. But again, as I always say, I do love my technology, but I will go out and say what I don't like about it. But I don't know. Just let me know in the comments below and make sure to like and subscribe. My giveaway winner was just announced recently for the Beat Solo 3, and as a token of my appreciation for my subscribers, I'll be hosting a new giveaway once the channel reaches 2,500 subscribers. The support has been one of my biggest blessings, and I can't thank every single one of you who watches my videos enough. I'm thrilled to put this content out for everyone so that you can make a more informed decision as a consumer. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in my next video. Peace.